thank you. And I think this week you wanted me to talk a little bit about IBS, which we'll talk about. But
irritable bowel syndrome.
Irritable bowel syndrome, a kind of a real challenge. I think there's about 4 to 10 million people, a million people in the United States that have this kind of disorder here. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then you're always gracious enough. I'll just go over the last week's update in terms of what's kind of going on with the science
weekly
about.
Update.
So you're current. As I was talking with Cindy before we started this, is that unfortunately medicine is usually about 50 years behind the times when there's real breakthroughs coming out. It takes about 50 years before they actually it trickles down, and that's not trickle down economics here, but trickle down to that science goes down to where your health provider will actually institute that to actually benefit you. So there's that long delay there. And I was actually thinking the other day about, I was reading an article about, in like all wars, the last soldier who was killed in Vietnam, and what a tragedy, the war's over, and who's the last person that's going to die? Well, same type with technology. Who's the last person that's going to die when there was a solution for that problem? And that's the real, that is a big ouch. That's kind of sad. So that's why it's important, and I really feel privileged to come on your show. You would give me some great numbers. A lot of people are watching this, and that's great. So people can be informed.
You're giving us great numbers.
Well, thanks. Well, hopefully it's a mutual thing. Is that we're able to educate people, and that's the real beauty. Don being, as well as Cindy too, being really pioneers in the internet, and as people watching this too, is now we have this frontier and this for the time being, this freedom of information. How long that will last, we can talk about that another time. Is where people then can at least go to their health provider and say, hey, I watched this thing with Dr. Noah. He's talking about cell signaling, NRF2 activators, talking about P53. This is cutting edge stuff. Like P53, you correct that, no cancer. I like that.
Bravo.
Bravo. And that's why all the drug and biotech companies are moving into P53. But once again, that could be another 15, 20, 30 years. How many more people will die, or children that give this to, or younger people have to be given this and never have cancer. So that's the exciting thing about being current.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, like that. So let me just go a little bit over what I kind of came across, and I'm going to talk a little bit about IBS. So as we've talked about many times, and also on my TV show, we talk about no one's talking about the real issue when it comes to about sick care or health care, about the $2.5 trillion spent, and how are we going to pay for that for the elderly like that. No one ever talks about what's the real cause of the problem. The problem is how we look at the situations. And I talk about it, and in this article we'll talk about is in traditional Chinese medicine 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, the health providers or doctors were only paid when you were healthy.
Good idea.
I know. And as soon as you got sick, it stopped paying. So what was the motivation of the doctor, him or her, to do? To get you well.
Wellness.
Absolutely.
What kind of system do we have here?
The opposite.
Sickness, that's right. And that perpetuated. They actually make more money the more sick you get. And in medicine's the only profession I know, any type of industrial, where they screw you up, they keep getting paid.
They have a vested interest in you being sick.
Absolutely.
Not a vested interest in you being
They'll do a little song and dance, and Gary's here too, our great person like that. Maybe you could do us a little song here and song and dance like that. Yes, they'll say, oh no, I'm here to help. No, really the real bottom line is that they benefit from you being sick.
I got into a little online debate. I didn't mention this to you earlier. That we're it was back and forth on Twitter, which is very brief. But he was saying this. I was objecting to the idea that in a compassionate society we have a government mandated a healthcare that basically institutionalizes what we've built today based on this crummy sick care model.
Well, it's a religion.
And I don't want my tax money. I don't want to fund a society that's going to institutionalize this sick care system. So it really is about personal responsibility,
Absolutely.
Not about let's just all pool our resources and get whatever is out there now. That's not good.
Right. And we'll talk about real competition. I mean, that's supposed to be one of our foundations. There is no competition. There's a monopoly. There's fascism in this. And as we'll talk a little later about, but that type 2 diabetes, I mean, people are shocked. I was telling Cindy, I was telling about this patient, and I was telling her that, lots of different problems. So his wife had type 2 diabetes. I says, well, how come she's not cured? I can cure that in 3 to 6 months. And he was shocked. What are you talking about? what kind of quack are you going to? I mean, and we'll talk about the science.
Well, the illusion is
Yeah.
that the world, if you had a cure, the world would be to pass
Oh,
through your door.
no.
But why
But
is that? Why is
there's a
that
whole-
false
Well,
assumption?
once again, there's a whole industry to be able to create, that's a $60 billion industry. So, and as well,
Insulin.
well, not
Diabetes.
glucophage or
Yeah.
hypoglycemic agent, insulin,
Selling the devices.
selling that. 90% of diabetes is type 2. There is type 1, which is a different type of entity, and we're not talking about that, but talking about the 90%. That's been proven over and over again scientifically. On my TV show, I have a nice slide from the Archives of Internal Medicine. Oh, that's a drug company journal. Oh, good, okay. So that's where their bias is. They were trying to disprove lifestyle, and guess what? They lost big time. Which system was 300% more effective, drugs or lifestyle?
I'm going to have to say lifestyle.
It was true. Which one is 3,000% more expensive, lifestyle or drugs?
Drugs.
Exactly right. And there's your answer like that.
But
There's no interest in getting well when you can get well, maybe you can call me or send me. Maybe you have a stock I can get a 3,000% return on my investment. There isn't any. Only sick care has that. And that's the bottom line. We'll talk about the studies and studies and studies that show when they do the Super Bowl of science, lifestyle against drugs, guess who always loses?
Drugs.
So that would be like the 49ers going against the Raiders. The 49ers win 300 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah, no competition.
The skull and crossbones, the poison.
That's right.
I get it.
I got it. Exactly. Good. That's great. So in this article here, showing that healthful behavior is key to the healthcare system. I mean, this is like no-brainer, but at least they're starting to talk about it.
It'll cost you a little bit more money out of pocket, won't it? But you're making an investment in your health.
Well, no. Actually, there's a study from the University of Utah. For every dollar spent for prevention, how much return on your investment do you get preventing acute care trauma, which is what we have now? 1,600%. So no, this is going to save 1,600%. But that means that
That's
some people
amazing.
aren't going to make a lot of money for doing quackery. So what?
Too bad.
I
The return
know.
is to you instead of to the
Yeah,
sick care doctors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the issues until we're talking about? Overeating, lack of exercise, smoking. This is just basic 101. But once again, at least they're starting to talk about it. This is where magic always is. Weight loss drugs, and they discuss them, have potential in terms of what? Death and critical organ industry, critical organ injury. So even these quacks will even say for
I'll hold them up after you're done.
Okay, good,
So you can
thanks.
see it. You talk about the next one, then I'll hold the last one up.
So people think, they go to their drug doctor and they say, okay, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, and all these type of things. But I'm going to go to someone that's even more
Are those
stupid.
symptoms?
Exactly. Who's even more stupid because he or she's a quack. He's going to give me a magic pill for losing weight. And the studies show how much did you lose? 4 pounds versus doing nothing. Costing, once again, thousands of dollars and causing all these kind of problems like that. Now, not to get too personal here, but Cindy's just gone on a natural type of cleansing type of diet, eating better,
Yeah.
and what's happened?
I've lost over 25 pounds.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, since in about
No
4
struggle, nothing. Have I
5
caused any
months.
liver damage?
Not that I'm
Have I
aware
caused you to
of.
go to the hospital?
I feel great.
I'm a loser.
My organs are healthier.
If I
not
could send her
sicker.
to the hospital, I'd have made another $100,000. What a deal! So here we go. This just came out. This is from a very, very liberal, wild organization, the Department of Health and Human Services. Oh, that's the government. Talk about anybody that doesn't know what's going on. Well, even they came out. Medical errors account for a death every 3 minutes.
No way.
You got it, 3 minutes. The medical profession murders someone every 3 minutes. This is what the government. So multiply that by about 3, and that's about 300%, and that's exactly what probably the truth is. So that's what's out there. Of course, you're not going to hear about that. You're not going to hear that on the news that you watch. We're definitely going to watch it on American Idol. So that's what's kind of going on here. Let's see. Nearly half of the U.S. meat is now tainted not only with bacteria, but the resistant kind. And when people wonder why they're always getting sick, 50% have what's called MRSA. Because of the quacks use antibiotics for what? Colds? Now, do colds? They're a virus. That's right. And does antibiotics work with viruses? No, never, ever. But then when you go see your quack, you get the antibiotics. You keep getting sick. hey, they make more money.
Aren't
Keeps them coming back.
a huge percent of sinus infections are actually viral
90%
too, right?
of sinus infections are either viruses or fungal. Only 10% or less are bacterial.
But they always give you
They
an
always give it
antibiotic.
to you. Oh, it's good to not know what you're doing and screw you up because they make more money. So that's a little scare there. So what's the most prestigious medical journal in the world? These are drug doctors. New England Journal of Medicine. Now, what do they say about people going out and riding bicycles, knitting, making quilts for the American Diabetic Association? Because we want to really cure this. We already talked about it. Well, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Diet and exercise beat drugs for diabetes. Beat. That means they win. They're more effective. They cost less. New England Journal of Medicine. Now, also in this article says, it's not just one study. It's not 2 studies. It's been 4 scientific studies, one right
Wow.
after another. They don't even, once again, it'd be like, once again, having the 49ers play against the Pee Wee football team. I mean, why would they want to even
How
play?
do those studies get funded? Are there natural food organizations that put
No.
together some kind of a...
No.
How does that happen?
This one happens to come from what little benefit we get from our tax dollars, which is Monday. This is from the National Institute of Health, NIH. So once again, these are very conservative type of people. They want to just see...
You mean our taxes that go to the Federal Reserve?
Exactly, which is not a federal...
No, it's not
it's not a
no
reserve.
reserve.
Exactly. It's just basically a corrupt a tool to be able to make our society not be able to function. But that's another story.
Yeah.
Don't confuse me with
We'll
facts.
talk about that
Don't
tomorrow.
confuse me with facts. I mean, I don't want to get into facts. So I just talk about health. So that's what's out there. Now this goes along in terms of the beauty of what Cindy and Don are trying to do is that we don't have freedom and we don't have liberty anymore. So here's a mother who has an autistic child, which is a challenge. I help those type of children, very challenging, not easy, but help them. Of course, there's no drugs or surgery out there, but we spend billions of dollars pretending that we're going to help them. So
But you help them by natural means.
by natural
you really
means,
Do,
and they actually do get better.
testimonies
Yeah,
that-
they actually
yeah.
get better. I mean,
The
they're able
children
to
have-
function
yeah.
better. They're able to go back to school
Absolutely.
like that. And the other ones, all they do is they dope them up enough so that they're just drug addicts. I mean, they just walk around in a stupor. I mean,
Right.
anybody can do it. I can go down to the drugstore or down to the liquor store and give a kid, a fifth of Jack Daniels, and yeah, they'll behave because they'll be drunk. They'll just be walking around, slobbering. Oh, that's what the drugs do. Oh, that's okay. They make a lot more money than the alcohol industry does, so that's what matters. So there was a trial that just happened. It was in Massachusetts where a woman whose child had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a kind of cancer, and kind of struggled with it. Maybe this doesn't really work. So she didn't give the chemotherapy, and now they're sentencing her to 10 years in prison because of what's called manslaughter.
Wow.
Now the studies do show with younger kids that the survival, the success rate is about 50-50 after 7 years. That's science. 50-50, that's a flip of the coin. And that's why they send this woman to jail for 10 years, because that's the great science that she was being abusive like that. Oh, you don't like that one? How about this one? Armed agents kidnap child from mother who used holistic, oh my God, versus pharmaceuticals drugs to treat her child. So her child is, once again, goes in, gets vaccinated, whole different topic like that, starts to get really sick. Of course, the drug doctors, once again, give her lots of drugs. She said, her and the drugs are frustrated, weren't getting better. God forbid she went to some holistic type of person, was getting better, wasn't getting worse. Then the government steps in. Let's see, the Special Response Team, which is like the SWAT team, Department of Police Department,
goodness.
and Child Protective Service, which is a whole type of study. I mean, they could be Nazis themselves. Kicked down the door, actually had a tank that came in. I mean,
What?
Yeah, they actually
What?
had a tank present like that.
Because that mother must have been heavily armed. huh?
Well, so I mean, that's the craziness out there. We don't have freedom, especially when it comes to your health, and that's what's so scary. You start, once again, playing around with stuff that doesn't work, that makes lots of money, and guess who has the guns?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, we all need to hang together on
That's
things
exactly
like
right.
this. If everyone takes a stand, they can't go to everybody's house and take away
That's
everybody's
right.
children.
And if
They
people
make
do,
examples of these people.
that's right. But as Cindy and I was talking, the American Revolution wouldn't have taken place in one. That was only about 5 to 8% of the populace. Most of the people, once again, were kind of let me just watch the kerosene lamp, burn. I don't care. And then there's another third that actually were part of, they're in favor of the British government. But those small number of people, like Cindy said, were able to act forward and make some changes there. And that's what
folks,
it takes.
we are not a democracy.
No.
If we wait until 50% or more want change, it ain't going to ever
we're
happen.
actually a representative democracy. We vote people in to be able to make decisions.
Right, and it's based on principles of freedom and leadership.
Right.
So that one of the things that discourages me most about people that are starting to wake up, they want to, and it's great to try to encourage others to vote and get involved, but it's not about a majority ruling. It's about the individual liberty being protected,
exactly.
So that we have we don't have this imposed thing on us that we have to obey what the majority wants us to do. We have the individual freedom to choose.
Well, and the founding fathers had the wisdom enough to understand that democracy could be very fascist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because just as we were joking before we came on, I was working with Don and used some natural approaches to make you healthy. We were kind of joking, that's what all brainwashing is about. That's about mind control. You're able to control the majority of people, they'll go along, even though, so the founding fathers...
It's called TV.
It's called TV and mass media.
That's why they call it programming.
Exactly, they're programming, exactly right. So they try to understand is that they don't want a democracy because that can become very fascist. They want to protect the minority, and that's why they had a democratic,
representative democracy,
right?
Republic.
Yeah, Republic, thank you. That's what it's. So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, maybe Cindy will share a little bit. Devastating type of problem. Boy, this can be just, miserable. There's some studies showing that it increases your chance of colorectal cancer, which is number 2 cancer after lung cancer from smoking and stuff. Devastating. But even if you didn't have that, patients have had miserable lives. So more recently, and you'll be able to check this out on Don and Cindy's, I'm sure they'll upload that onto YouTube, but a young guy is in his 20s. Actually, I'd seen him about a year ago, and I can't say cure because only drug doctors. Oh, that's right, they never cure, but they're the ones that can say that. But they came in. I just basically fortified his health, and his IBS went away. So it was really good. So then 2 or 3 years go by, and of course he goes back to where he was, and then he thought, well, because going to see Dr. Noah, my insurance doesn't pay for it, so I'll just go to the quacks who, society pays for it, and it doesn't work. And that's exactly what happens. Years and years went by beforehand, and then I helped him. And then after he went back on us, it didn't help him. Then he eventually came back in, and you can see the testimony. In 16 days, IBS is 80% better. So actually, he started to kind of cry, because you can imagine, young guy in his 20s like this, socially, his life was miserable. Try going on a date where you have to know where a bathroom is, and in an instant, you have to run to the bathroom and go number 2 because that's what you're about. You have blood, you have mucus, you have this frequent type of cramping, irritation,
terrible
pain. Exactly. And everywhere you go, when you drive in your car, you can actually become anxious because you don't know if it hits you. What are you going to do? You're driving down the road. Where's the bathroom? So that's to me, that's even more devastating than some of the other type of problems like that. 16 days, 80% better. Yeah. Have any of your quack doctors call me and tell me like that.
That's great.
Now, of course,
what's the key to that? Is it about restoring intestinal flora?
Absolutely, dealing with inflammation, helping, of course, deal with the problem eating bad food, eating things that irritate you like that, that causes a problem.
Helping them recognize what works and what doesn't.
See, if I punch you, that's the cause of the problem. Now, I could give you lots of drugs that numb the pain, but I'm still punching.
That's fun for you, isn't it?
Well, it is fun. But the punching,
I get a handle on it now.
Yeah, the punching keeps going on, but you've taken the drug thinking it's not. So what I do is I get to the cause of the problem. Take the punching away. You don't take drugs because that's what they do. They give you steroids. Oh, that's right. Barry Bonds just is going to go to jail for 10 years because he took steroids and lied about it. Why is that? Because that causes harm. That kills people.
Steroids do.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a modern athlete is just a gladiator. The reason why they're so upset, because why would they worry? Drug doctors give out cortisone and kill people every day. That's right. It's an investment. If they give them the cortisone, they're not going to give their $35 million back that they're paying this gladiator. So it's all about money. That's why they're concerned about that.
Wow.
Whereas the other system is, hey, I make more money. I'll give you steroids. Doesn't work. Screws you up. Makes you worse. Now, I have a person that works for me. She didn't know me at the time, had IBS. Of course, the quacks went, gave her steroids, gave her all this crap that didn't work. Then they have fun and saying, oh, I'm having too much fun. Don, you're the surgeon. You need to take some money. So I'm going to send you her over there. You'll make your $100,000. Cha-ching! Nice. Cut her all up, right?
Wow.
Here she
It's
is,
really
a young,
tragic.
It's tragic.
She's how old is she now?
I can't say. She's in her
She's
early
young
20s
woman,
or so.
Beautiful young
And
lady.
now, of course, she doesn't have $100,000. No one has $100,000. It's put on, once again, the credit card, so Security, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and every 8 weeks she has to go in for a $20,000 dilation thing for the rest of her life.
Wow.
What a deal!
Shocking.
So that doctor's just saying, yeah, $20,000, that means I could get my Mercedes, because every 8 weeks I make $20,000. Cha-ching! Yeah, don't ever go and look over here with what Don and Cindy or Dr. Noah's talking about. Go over here. Oh, that's right. That's why we're busted. We don't have any money because we keep, once again, allowing these quacks to do these things that cost a lot of money,
That's right.
have no benefits. We talked about Dr. Garson. Oh, he must be wild and crazy like Dr. Noah. Oh, that's right. He's only a medical doctor, past president of the University of Virginia Medical School. What does he say? His colleagues are criminals. Over 50%,
Absolutely.
$1.2 trillion is fraud, doesn't work, is voodoo.
Another aspect of all of this.
Do you really
is
want to
that-
know how I feel about this?
Yeah. I'll give you another button.
Oh,
press.
good. Okay, good.
There is an addictive quality to the punch.
It is.
You get used to being punched, and you don't feel right if you're not punched.
Exactly
Is that
right. That's right. Exactly
Yeah.
right. You get into, just like a drug addict.
Yeah.
You get into this pattern where now you have this devastating, destructive lifestyle, and now you're caught in it.
Yeah.
Well, you need to be careful because Dr. Gerson was poisoned.
I know. I got
Dr.
it.
Gerson was poisoned once and survived.
Right.
And then he was poisoned a second time and died.
Did. That's right.
So
We
there's somebody
regularly
who
pray
doesn't
for
like
people
this.
that we know that are leaders in the liberty and truth movement, and
Well, and as I tell you,
because this is a real fight.
Well, I have some history too. My great grandfather on my mother's side was a French resistance fighter, and I really even back then when I was a little kid, not aware like that.
Excellent.
He understood that that's what they needed to do. Most of the people that were occupied just were sat there and just said, "Oh, please, Nazis, do this to me." He said, "F you. I'm getting my gun," and he was out, basically doing what had to be done. Now he got caught. The SS executed him right on the spot. But I mean, that's where I come from, and that's where I need to be. Because I have 2 daughters.
That's where you are.
That's right. I don't want my daughters to be for me to be quiet, for people to be mutilated. Once again, let's go over that again. The United States government states, once again, this isn't about opinions, about I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat or a Libertarian, you like blue, I like green, I like the 49ers, you like the Raiders.
That's a false debate.
Well, that's a false debate.
That's a diversion.
Death! You don't get any worse than that. Murder! One person every 3 minutes by these quacks. That's what we're dealing with here.
Astounding.
So just like, in terms of, these other types of, factions, people, and like I said, people have to start stepping forward and at least talking about it and making some changes.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy Palm Sunday.
Well, guess who was the radical person? Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Talk about being radical. Man, he said, the high priest, you guys are all quacks. You don't know nothing about spirituality. You don't know anything about the hereafter. You're just in there because it's a nice little pleasant job, making lots of money
Right.
off other people,
Right.
and making money, exactly.
Must have been just a coincidence that he overturned those money changers tables
Oh.
right before they turned on him, huh?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they were trying to do some therapy by crucifying him. I thought that was some kind of attraction technique.
Something like that.
Oh, and the side effect, he was died. So that's exactly right. When you start to step out like that, that's what you're associated with.
That's right.
Jesus Christ and great type of people that stood against
Freedom fighters.
like the freedom fighters. That's why we stand here today. Otherwise, we'd still be under British rule because that's what happened. People once again sit on their butts.
This country is supposed to be about deciding for yourself, making your own
right.
decisions,
That's right.
being informed. So get involved, be
Be
informed,
free.
and be free.
And next time, I'll really share with you how I feel about things.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
We'll look forward to that.